I will say
distance.
I just took a look at his the opponents that he's played, and he actually managed to get 4.5 out of 6. He beat a 1900 in the last round, but otherwise his only other wins were below 1500. So he just just played the games in front of him, and somehow ended up playing Shook in the final round with 4.5 out of 6.
Yeah, no, the pairings he snuck in. There's a bit of a Swiss gambit. The tournament's not over.
By the
to
way,
complete it, he has to win that game against Shook.
We already have a result, so hopefully our audience thanks us for not tuning in live to the Hans Niemann game. It's over. It's a draw. That means Hans qualifies, and it means Bassem will also qualify with 5.5. That draw bumps him up. It was just such an expected result in the final round that we didn't even want to be there.
Yeah, we saw some players in the lead continue to try to win. I believe Nihal 5.5 out of 6, and he lost. Hans, draw, professional in the tournament, go relax, because he's going to be back and ready to play tomorrow. This is Group D, so in some ways you could argue it could be disadvantaged in the sense that you play today or tonight, where it is in Riyadh, and then the next day they have to play where some players play today's the rest day, and you pretty much have enough time to sleep, and that's what it is. So I do understand the decision completely. It's well earned. But then the second Egyptian to make it, and what is out in front of us here?
That would just be incredible to have such representation. You do have some strong players from Egypt, but certainly not to the degree of the competition. So that would be a really amazing accomplishment.
So a bit about his opponent. He's 44 FIDE Master, 2300. And here he is playing Denis Lazavik for a spot. But
best
also
dressed, probably.
Yeah, well dressed and coming off some good tournaments. So I do like the suit. I do like the suit. He seems very relaxed.
Yep. Yeah, he really does. And you just don't collect this many points accidentally. So one way or another, he's put himself in a position, and it does feel like somehow the pairings for this group, Eric, like just the way it feels is that somehow the big matchups have kind of been avoided. Like people have collected points a little bit easier than I'm used to in the other groups.
It's true, and I've done a bit of digging because it doesn't fully make sense to me. Like some of these qualification games are objectively quite a bit easier than other groups for a final round. But this group has more players, 45 players. So it's one of the bloated groups. So if you think about it, 7 Grandmasters, 45 players. There were some groups with 10 Grandmasters and like 32 or 33 players. Every third player was a GM. Here, there's in the middle of the field, far more opportunity for players to avoid the GMs and actually score big. And that's probably why we have the pairings that we do.
And Denis Lazavik, based on the pairing here, remember that I would say based on the tie breaks that we saw Denis with, he was kind of on the upper end of the tie breaks. If he made a draw, of course, he'd be at 5.5. That would probably be enough to qualify, but there's a real possibility that a lot of players, more than just the 4 qualification spots, end up with that 5.5 point margin. So I wonder if this is going to be the first time that we see someone not qualify with 5.5.
Well, the only way for Lazavik not to qualify with 5.5, well, he almost is for sure going to qualify, but the 4.5 score player that you mentioned was around 2,000. He would have to win to get to 5.5. Because I'm doing the math. players lose, right? So I think just keeping it solid, it makes a lot of sense. Build a time advantage, follow the other boards happening.
I will say that it's extremely likely that the qualifiers are Hans, Amin Bassem, Denis Lazavik, and Alexander Grishuk, just because the other players who do have 4.5 points are the lower rated players. Like, they're basically all playing Grandmasters. So we would have to see an incredible upset. And believe me, I would love to see it just for the intrigue, because we would see an FM or perhaps an untitled player beating a world-class Grandmaster in order to qualify. And that would be a shocking story, but I don't think anyone is going to qualify with less than 5.5 points once again. And as I mentioned, most likely Grishuk, Denis Lazavik, Amin Bassem, and Hans are going to be the 4, but let's wait and see.
Yeah, Grishuk playing in 1900 in the final round to try to qualify is definitely the variance in this format, because we have seen some world-class players, and even the last round, Merzen pushing against Hans, playing innovative chess, lost, but I think represented very well. I mean, he's a reigning World Rapid champion, not going to qualify, and might even have a higher performance when all is said and done than qualifiers in this group. There's going to be multiple players that maybe have a higher performance than other players who actually qualified and they didn't make the cut. Pairings, the format, it's, hate or love it. It produces some unexpected results, and, that's what the players signed up for. They knew it might be a little bit random because you're just seeded into groups, but yeah, that's a very, I can't mince my words enough, that's a very fortunate pairing for Alexander Grishuk.
Yeah.
Who's already likely winning by now. I mean, we're not the game up, but
he's completely crushing his game. In fact, it's almost over. And I was looking at who Grishuk played, and he drew Merzen, he lost to Bassem, and he beat 2200s and below. So that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Lazavik here, control the new file, no pressure on his queen side because the new file is not blocked with his pawn on d6. He's just slowly taking control. Probably gonna just win this game. Might not even give a pity draw. We've seen how it falls, but I gotta see what he can do against just small incremental moves in the block positions. Control d6. So let's see it. The new file, maybe doubling on the new file. There's no pressure to b6 is any sort of endgame. There's nothing to do about blocks. This should be slowly to the back door. We'll see how this
See how this white knight activates further.
Yeah. Take that pawn. That's what Yasser would do.
And Volodar Merzen has won his game, but as you mentioned, it's just not going to be enough. He's going to end with 5 points, and that's not even going to come close to qualifying. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to get left behind at that 5-point margin. Trying to follow the other results as well, and David Anton is beating his FIDE Master opponent. Same with Denis Lazavik here. And remember, those FMs were the ones on 4.5 that could jump up to 5.5, but it looks like they're all going to be taken down in the last round, which sort of clears the way for Alexander Grishuk to walk in and say thank you very much and take that.
Yeah, and in case you're wondering what are the guys playing for who can't qualify, that could be David Anton, that could be Merzen. There are prizes So if you finish near the top of your group but don't qualify, there are some cash prizes that trickle down a little bit. So you still want the best result possible, which is generally 5 points in terms of a non-qualification placement. And there are some cash prizes there. So something to play for. Certainly disappointment for the grandmasters like, Murzin and Fier and David Anton. But hey, if you're going to lose, at least win a small prize. Feels better than absolutely, coming home with absolutely nothing. So they're definitely looking to win that final round.
And it's a tough ask to defeat a grandmaster on demand, like exactly when you need to in the event. And they're certainly not ever going to take any game lightly. So it's not an easy last round pairing. I would say that maybe David Anton's game offers the best chance for his FM opponent. He's much better in that one, but compared to this, I would say it does have more chances.
Yeah, this one is a dream position for Black because White's rook can't jump in the game. And Black's already up a pawn, active king, maybe f5, king goes down to e4. The counterplay is disappearing, and the result is really not in doubt here.
Yep, and the time reflective of how difficult the position is to play. I couldn't come up with better moves myself for White, so it's just a product. It's too tough.
Don't have a game up, but Alexander Grushev is a couple moves away from winning and moving to 5 out of 7.
Just run in.
And the players, some of the players follow, they're like, man, I don't want Richard to qualify because he could be real life difficult knockouts. And that is the best day for Jess. And to qualify anyway,
It's even the back.
at some point, at some point, they're like, man, I wish Grushev was the winner. He is one of the world Blitz champions and can beat anybody. And just has a second class a strong player. This market in there, you're saying not strong players qualify, but the method to get there is that the goals to disqualify rather than that overturn. Somehow, losing early was extremely beneficial. Yeah, the pawns are all crumbling here. And there you have it. Denis Lazavik moves to 6 out of 7.
Yep.
His only loss versus Hans Niemann. And he's through to the knockout.
Congratulations, definitely well deserved. He moves up to the same score as Hans Niemann.